Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Life in Utah webinar that is a part of the International Student Orientation webinar series for the spring 2021 semester. On behalf of the International Student and Scholar Services here at the University of Utah, we want to extend a very warm welcome to everyone and all of you joining us, whether you guys are joining us from within the United States and Utah or all over the world. Thank you for taking the time and being with us this evening. Next slide, Rachel. So today on our webinar, we'll be presenting on the following topics: location and geography, a little bit about Utah's culture, outdoor adventures, and other activities that you guys can enjoy as students here at the University of Utah. Today we have three of our international student ambassadors who will be presenting the information on this webinar for all of you. First up, we have Rachel.
Hi, my name is Rachel Griffin. I'm a medical student here at the U, and I'm from around Salt Lake area, so I've lived here for most of my life.
Hi again, everyone. My name is Mary, and I'm an undergraduate student here, hopefully soon graduating in the spring. I'm studying biomedical engineering and psychology, and my hometown is Kerala, India.
Hi everyone, my name is Enki and I am a senior year student majoring in environmental and sustainability studies with an emphasis on climate and energy. Hopefully I'll also graduate in this upcoming spring semester, and I'm from Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia. Okay, so we're gonna discuss, like, some of you may be wondering where in the world is Utah, so we're gonna discuss that right now. So Utah's population is estimated to be around 3.2 million, and from Salt Lake City you can drive to LA for 10 hours, and you can also drive to Las Vegas for 6 hours. So it's really close to a lot of nice places, and it is a very mountainous region, and therefore a lot of people go to the canyons during the weekend to do some outdoor activities such as hiking, skiing, snowboarding, and snowshoeing. And then we have a high elevation desert climate, and we have 5 native tribes, including the Utes. Okay, next slide. Okay, as you can see from this slide, on the top left, we have the picture of the Great Salt Lake. I believe that it's an hour drive from our campus. And on the top right, you can see the Bonwell Salt Flats. Just as a fun fact, it was a filming location for the Pirates of the Caribbean at the World's End. And on the bottom right, you can see a picture of the dinosaur fossil. It is located at the Natural History Museum of Utah, which is located on our campus. And you can just walk up there, and with your student ID, you should be able to get in for free.
So the second part of today's webinar will focus on Utah's culture and a little bit about what you should know about this state and probably can expect when you arrive here for the spring semester. So next slide. So Utah's nickname is actually called the Beehive State. And you'll see the beehive symbol kind of all around Utah. And the symbol kind of represents how Utahns are hardworking and very industrious. And it's our official state emblem. So like I mentioned before, you'll find this, when you're driving on the roads, on highways. It's on our state flag as well. And this nickname, or the Beehive State, this nickname was coined by Utah's early settlers, who were primarily members from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, who are also known as Mormons, or people who practice the LDS faith. So a kind of really interesting fact about Utah is that since a lot of people who practice the LDS faith settled in Utah, there are a lot of really historical and religious sites that are related to this LDS faith that are located in Salt Lake City and all around Utah. And a lot of them are open to the public and are really great places to visit in your free time. So I highly recommend that if you ever get the chance, while you guys are studying at the University of Utah, take some time to kind of go visit downtown and check out the temple or their visitor center and learn a little bit more about Utah history and the LDS faith. Another kind of important factor about Utah culture is how friendly and welcoming people are. The people here are commonly referred to, I mean, Utahns pride themselves in being really friendly and welcoming, and you see this kind of everywhere that you go in the state. I think unlike other countries or even other states in the United States, you'll notice that, while walking, people that are passing you by often smile or nod their head at you or even wave or say hi, even if you don't know them or are complete strangers, right? So don't worry, this is quite kind of normal here in Utah. It's just people kind of showing how friendly they are, and it's polite to just kind of nod and wave back. And you'll kind of notice that the friendly culture kind of defines the way people behave or react when in Utah, when you're entering a store or a restaurant or public transportation, you'll see that employees will greet you, smile, and come up to you and say, "Hey, how are you doing? Can I help you with anything?" And then in return, when you're leaving the store, when you're getting off a bus or a train, it's really common practice. You'll notice a lot of people just saying thank you to the driver or whoever is at the front of the store. Um, I think this is one thing that you'll notice if you're taking a lot of our university campus shuttles. The University of Utah has buses that students can take for free and can take them around campus. And you'll notice students getting on, saying hi to the driver, and then saying thank you as they're leaving. Another kind of important thing to note about Utah culture is the importance of personal space. Whenever possible, you'll notice people here leave a buffer seat. So this is especially important when you're riding public transportation, you're near movie theaters, or even in classrooms. So instead of kind of going and sitting right next to the person, you'll usually leave a buffer seat. And I think now more than ever with the pandemic and COVID-19, it's quite important to leave a little bit of room in between people. If you are, however, about to sit right next to someone, and whether that be in a classroom or on a bus, that's totally okay. Just ask beforehand, just say, "Hey, is it okay if I sit here, or is this seat available?" And people usually say yes or no, depending on whether it is. Another thing to note about Utah, it's also known for being a relatively very safe state. I think in 2018, we were ranked, I think, the fourth safest state in the United States. So you'll notice that compared to a lot of other capital cities or downtowns in the United States, Utah's Salt Lake City is quite safe. And, you'll see that there's not a lot of, criminal activity or crime in Utah. However, with that said, still exercise caution when you are going outside, right? Be vigilant, always keep an eye on your valuables and personal belongings. Try to travel in groups whenever possible. If you do have to go somewhere alone at night or, even during the day, just let your friend or a roommate or someone know where you're going. I think these are just all good practices to do wherever you live, right? Another thing to note is if you're a student moving to Utah with a family, or you have a spouse that's coming with you, this is a really great state for families, and there are a lot of family-oriented events and gatherings as well. Next slide. So life in Salt Lake City has some distinct features. One thing you'll kind of notice about Utah nightlife, or just life in living in Utah, is a lot of stores and restaurants are closed on Sundays. And I don't want to scare anyone off by saying this. I think a lot of large grocery stores and chain food restaurants are open, so you'll still be able to get food and groceries, and most places are open. They might just have fewer operating hours. So a good recommendation is whenever you're traveling or wanting to go someplace on Sunday, just Google and confirm their operating hours. You'll also notice that Salt Lake City does have limited nightlife. Things tend to close a bit earlier here than other states, like New York and stuff. So just be wary of that and kind of plan things accordingly. Another distinct feature of life in the city is how spread out things are in Utah. And what I mean by this is that, grocery stores and a lot of amenities are often not within walking distance, but can be more easily accessed with, car or rideshare options like Uber and Lyft. And I don't want to detract people from walking. I think, I am a student here at the University of Utah and I don't own a car, and I've been able to get around to grocery stores and my classes without having ever owned a car. We have great public transportation options, and you'll notice that a lot of people downtown tend to walk to these places, like to grocery stores and stuff. So if you are, coming to Utah and are wanting to use public transportation, definitely, check out UTA, that's what our public transportation is called. And we have bus lines that run all throughout downtown and even onto campus, as well as a TRAX line. And TRAX is our train, and it runs all the way into the heart of campus. So that's what I take to get to my classes and stuff. Ultimately, where you live will kind of decide what mode of transportation you will be most using while studying here. And Salt Lake City, compared to other parts of Utah, since it's an urban city, is more diverse, and it's definitely increasing in diversity over the years. So I think all of you coming to Salt Lake City to study at the U will have a fun time, and will get to see and experience a lot of really cool things while living here. Next slide. I think food is also another important factor when discussing culture. There are plenty of great vegan and vegetarian friendly options in Utah. We have lots of farmers markets. Obviously, you know, since most of you guys are coming during the spring semester, some farmers markets won't be open. Most of them are open in the summer or kind of late fall, but those are great options to check out new vegan, vegetarian food options. We have plenty of delicious ethnic and international cuisine in Salt Lake City as well, and even like ethnic grocery stores. So if you are ever wanting to, you know, cook some food from home and make it yourself, definitely check out some ethnic grocery stores. I think they're all kind of you can Google them and find out exactly where they are. And sometimes you can even take public transportation to them. And I think before I wrap up this section, I just want to kind of leave with a couple of foods that I think that all of you, while living here or studying in the United States, should try. These are some Utah delicacies. Fry sauce, which is personally my favorite condiment. You can have it with hamburgers, you can have it with fries, and then funeral potatoes or Jello. So I'll pass it on to Rachel next.
Okay, so I'm going to be talking a little bit about what do people like to do in Utah, and Utah is pretty infamous for being an outdoorsy kind of place. So if you like the outdoors, Utah is probably a great place for you to be going to school. Here's just a few pictures of some of the things. These are all pictures of me. I look very different in all of them. There's lots of activities for people to get involved in. There's a lot of really great hikes. This hike that I went on at the top picture is pretty close to Salt Lake. It's about a 30-minute drive, and it's really picturesque. You can get lots of good pictures if that's why you go hiking. There's fishing, there's national parks, there's mountain biking, there's skiing, snowboarding. Pretty much anything that you would want to do, you can do it here in Utah. So that's a pretty amazing thing to do while you're here. It's definitely pretty cold now in the winter time, but it's going to warm up, and that's when you'll see a lot of people outside, especially in Salt Lake. You'll see people out on bikes or scooters or all sorts of things, like ways to get around town and to be outside. So Utah is especially famous for our winter sports. So in 2002, Utah held the Winter Olympics. And so you can see the stadium that we have here. It usually isn't under construction, but right now it is. We have the Olympic torch that was there. And that was like obviously a really important part of the Olympics. And so if you guys have a chance to go skiing or snowboarding, Utah is a really great place to do that. Park City is about a 20-minute drive from Salt Lake. And once you get there, there's a lot of places you can go skiing or snowboarding, also snowshoeing, or anything you'd want to do in the snow, you can do here. And there's a lot of ways to get involved in that. So here's a picture of a nice place to ski in Utah. So you can see it on the top picture. That's our license, one of the license plates that people have on their cars, and it says greatest snow on earth. So that's one of the themes that Utah likes to be proud of, is that we have the greatest snow on earth. And like we talked about in the beginning, we kind of live in a dry desert environment, and so that means that our snow can be really powdery. And so you'll see a lot of people love to come to Utah to come ski because the snow is so good here. And here on the right, we have Utah Free Skier Society and One Love, and these are some organizations that give students at the U opportunities to get discounts on skiing passes. And the university also has some really affordable options for either renting gear, and there's a lot of places nearby that you can buy gear, and there's like ski swaps and all sorts of things. So if you want to get involved in this, it's a great place to start learning how to ski. Utah is also unique because we have 5 national parks located within our state. And so we have Zion National Park, which is on the left picture here. So you can go there. It's a bit of a drive. It's about 5 hours, and it's best if you take a car there. But if you can get a group of friends to go down, it's definitely worth it. There's a lot of beautiful red rock canyons. And this area over here is, we call it the Narrows, and you can hike through the water and see the canyons, and it's really beautiful. It's very busy in the summertime, but it's definitely worth a visit if you can make it down there. And Arches National Park, that's the picture on the right. So that's one of the famous images that we have in Utah, is this arch that is here on the right, and it's also on some of our license plates as well. So that just has a lot of kind of the similar like red rock, but we have the arches that are really cool to take pictures with and go hiking and see those too. And that's about a 3 or 4 hour drive as well. So most of these you're going to have probably a car to get to, but there are some bus options that will take people to national parks as well. There's also Capitol Reef, Canyonlands, and Bryce Canyon. And those are also really beautiful places to go and visit, and really unique hiking and just cool places to go visit. So I recommend you guys all take a chance to, either during your summer break or during a long weekend or something, go check out these national parks, because they're definitely worth a visit. Utah is very famous for our mountains as well. So it's good skiing, but also good hiking. And especially in the summertime, people with COVID have been out in just droves going hiking. So close by here, we have Shoreline Trail and the Living Room Trail. So those are ones that you'll hear a lot of people talking about, that they went and hiked the living room. So if you hike up, it's just right behind our campus. And if you hike up, there's a trail that goes up to this view of the valley, and there's a bunch of rock, kind of like rocks that are put into the shapes of like sofas and stuff. So you can sit on like the couch, like the rock couch, and like look at the valley, and it's a really nice view. So that's a really fun one to do, and it's not very difficult. So a lot of people will go do that one. There's also close by, we have Big Cottonwood Canyon and Little Cottonwood Canyon. And those are a little bit of a drive, but they have a lot of great hikes in there. And an app that I recommend downloading if you like hiking or you want to get into hiking, it's called All Trails. And this hike has just lists of trails that are close by. So they'll be ranked easy to hard. So if you want to just start easy, that's great. Or if you're up for a challenge, you can find yourself a nice long hike. But definitely check that out, because that's a great option to just kind of find out what's locally around here and get involved in some of the hiking that's here. So I just wanted to remind, as fun as Utah is and all the wonderful things that we have, there are some safety considerations you'll want to make sure you take as you're going out to hike or to ski or whatever you decide to do. So here, this picture on the left, it just shows how high up we really are in Utah. So since we do have a lot of mountains, once you're up pretty high and you're hiking, the altitude difference can be pretty dramatic. And so you have to make sure that you're staying hydrated, and also that you have the gear that you need to, so that you're not going to be either stuck up there and not have any water because you drank all of it, or it gets cold up there too. So you need to make sure you're bringing the right gear with you so you don't end up in a bad situation. And a lot of people think that because it's cooler up in the mountains, they don't need to drink water, but you need to make sure that you bring plenty of water, because a lot of people will get dehydrated because they're not drinking enough as they're going up there. And unfortunately, a lot of people have to get flown out of the mountains, and that's not a pleasant situation for anybody. So just be smart about where you're going. And it also gets really hot here in the summers. So that picture in the middle, that's a pretty good description of what the summers in Utah will be like. Very dry and very hot. It'll get to above 100 degrees Fahrenheit in some of these places. And so you need to be really careful that you don't go out maybe in the middle of the day when it's the hottest. Maybe try to do some of your hiking or your other outdoor activities early in the morning or later at night when it cools down when you're out in the summer, and make sure you bring plenty of water with you. Another thing is kind of what Mary had talked about before, is just making sure you know where you're going, that you have friends that are going with you, or whoever's, just having somebody to go with you. So in case something happens, that you'll have somebody that knows how to help you. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about is that we do live pretty close to the mountains, and sometimes we'll get things like mountain lions that will come down into the valley, not very often, but we have a lot of wildlife here, and that's a really great part of having all of these really beautiful mountains nearby, but they can also be dangerous. So just a smart thing to do, there'll be signs when there are bears or when there are other wildlife that you need to be worried about, but just make sure if you go camping or you're hiking or something, that you're keeping your food or your garbage just packed up in your bag, and that you're just being aware where you are, and just making sure that you're not purposefully like trying to chase after a bear to get a good picture or something. So just be aware of that and respectful of the wildlife here. And for the most part, we don't have any problems with people getting attacked by any wildlife. It's just that we want to be aware and be careful around them. There's a service that the University of Utah provides for their students. It's equipment rentals. So I talked about a lot of things that you can do when you're here in Utah. So there's water equipment, you can go canoeing or paddle boarding, or snow gear. They have skis there, snowboards, all the gear that you would need, camping gear, climbing gear, anything that you want or need. The equipment rental at the campus recreation services, they'll have it for you. So they have really affordable prices for students to be able to rent. And with COVID, even they're still allowing students to use their equipment, and they're doing safe drop-offs and pickups, so you don't have to be worried about the safety issues there. So that's a really good way to be able to stay safe with the COVID-19 right now, that you can get outside and use some of this gear and learn a new skill. And campus rec will also do some outings, so they'll go out on like rafting trips or hiking trips or something like that. So if you want to get involved in something but you're not quite sure how to start, they have some of those outings, and I think those will be forthcoming as I think the summer probably approaches. So that's a great way to start to do some of those things if you're interested.
Okay, now we're gonna discuss about the things that you can explore in Salt Lake City other than the outdoor activities. Okay, so some of you may be wondering if there's any activities that you could do during your time here, and the answer is yes. Like, we have a lot of places close to campus and accessible to through the public transportations. As Mary mentioned before, our public transportation system in Utah is pretty good. I also don't own any car, but like I just get to places very easily, and with your UID, you can access all the public transportations for free. So first of all, we have Natural History Museum and Museum of Fine Arts on campus. So you can just walk to these places really easily and enjoy your time after your class or during your class breaks. And then they're also free if you bring your UID to these places. We also have Sugar House Park, Liberty Park, which are really close to campus. So people usually go there in the mornings to do their workout or just go there to have some fresh air. We also have farmers market, which usually happens on Saturdays. And then one of the nice things is we have Ballet West and Utah Symphony here. And Ballet West offers full-time college students with a valid student ID to purchase tickets in a discounted price. And with Utah Symphony, like it depends on which concert you're watching, but usually like you can also get student discount with your UID. And then we also have the Sundance Film Festival, which is centered in Park City and has events in Salt Lake City, Ogden City, and Red Fort Sundance Village. It is usually held every January, and it was launched by the Utah Film Commission as a means to promote the independent film and to bring the state of Utah to the attention of the filmmakers. And then we also have a lot of nice bars, restaurants, concert venues, and shopping malls in downtown Salt Lake. Next slide. And as you can see from this slide, on the top left, we have a Ballet West performance of the Nutcracker. I've seen some of the schedules, and it looks like a bunch of nice concerts are coming up this year too, so you should definitely check it out. And then on the top right, we have a picture that was taken in Park City during the Sundance Film Festival. And on the bottom right, you can see the City Creek Shopping Center, which is located in downtown and easily accessible to the tracks and the buses. It is pretty nice, and most of the stores are located in City Creek, so yes. Next slide. Okay, now we're gonna discuss some stuff that you need to know as an international student. It's the American classroom. There are a few important things that you need to keep in mind. First of all, syllabus is the most important thing that you will have from your professor by the beginning of the semester. So the syllabus it contains literally every single thing, like communication procedures and your professor's office hours. It also tells you how your grades will be graded, and when your deadlines are, and all the important things are in your syllabus. So by the beginning of the semester, I really like to print out the syllabus of all of my classes and read. It's usually like more than 5 pages, I think. And then I just highlight all the important parts, make sure that I don't miss anything from my classes, and just prepare myself for the class. And even during the semesters, I always come back to my syllabus and like read about the things that I have maybe missed. So during your time here, when you're taking your classes, your syllabus will be your best friend.
So next, I'm going to talk a little bit about what the expectations are as far as participation in the American classroom. And so a lot of your classes, and this also is a little bit depending on the class size and your professor, but for the most part, your participation is expected in your classes. So like it was mentioned on the syllabus, it will talk about like your assignments and what it takes to get an A in the class. And that will also sometimes include participation requirements. And so it may say like, you need to show up every day and participate in the class this way, or sometimes there's discussion boards that you have to be involved in online. And so that's something to keep in mind, that the professors really do want you to be involved and participate in the classes. And they also want to know your opinion. They'll ask, a question about a topic, and they really want to know what students are thinking and how they can help students learn better. So that's something to keep in mind as you're taking your classes, to maybe it's to step out of your comfort zone a little bit, but to participate and really get the most out of your education, that your professors want to talk to you and they want to be involved, and they really want to hear from you. So be ready to participate in your classes as the semester starts. And the next point that we have is entering and exiting the class without permission. So in the American classroom, if you're running late, you don't need to, like wait outside the door. You can just go in and sit down. Probably don't walk like right in front of the whole class as the professor's teaching, but you don't need to feel weird about coming into the class after class has already started. Just sit down, find a seat quietly. And you can also, if you have, a phone call or something that comes up, you have an emergency, you can leave. You don't need to raise your hand to go to the bathroom or to, do something like that. definitely still be respectful of the classroom situation and don't be disruptive. But for the most part, it's really normal for students to enter and exit without having to talk to the professor about it, and it doesn't disturb anybody. So feel free to do that if you need to.
Yeah, and the next thing is quite important right now with the current pandemic going on. So some of you, when you are taking classes this spring semester, may have in-person classes where you're actually having to go into a classroom and a lecture is happening in person. For those classes, face coverings are required. And the U has a policy where whenever you're kind of indoors in buildings or in congregational gathering areas, face coverings are required at all times. And in some of your classes, even, you might find that your professors have assigned seats for lectures or even in labs. So just be flexible with that. And all this information can be found in your syllabus. So like Enki mentioned, make sure you read that properly before classes start so that you're going in prepared and know what to expect. And then another kind of distinct feature about American classrooms is kind of the lack of dress code, or, there isn't really an expectation that you have to wear a uniform or come in with professional dress. I remember kind of my freshman year, I went into a class and some of my classmates were dressed in like sweats or like even came in like pajamas. And that is completely fine, right? I mean, professors aren't really going to say anything. Obviously, dress respectfully and, dress comfortably. But there isn't an expectation that you have to be in like a suit or a dress shirt and pants. Some departments or some classes might have different rules or different expectations. So again, just ask your professor or consult the syllabus that you're given for more information. So that kind of wraps up the information that we want to share with you for this webinar. Thank you all for staying all this, till the end, but we want to open up, the remaining time for some questions that we've received in the Q&A kind of section of Zoom. And if any of you attending our webinar have more questions, please feel free to post your questions on the chat or in the Q&A session and we'll answer them as we get them. So I'll go ahead and get started with the first question. So the first question from Ashwin, and he says that I hear the winter is delayed this year. Does this mean the spring is also going to be delayed and it's going to be quite extreme when the cold hits? Enki or Rachel, any of you guys have any thoughts on this?
Honestly, I'm not really sure about it. This winter, definitely, we didn't get that much snow. But I think compared to like most of the cities, I would personally would not consider Salt Lake as pretty cold. But I think it will be just fine. But this year we definitely did we didn't get any snow, and then it seems to be delayed. So I hope it will get warm soon.
Yeah, I think this happens every winter where we like expect a lot of snow and it doesn't come and we think it's getting delayed and we think that it's going to be extreme when it comes, but it never quite gets that bad. So Ashwin, I wouldn't be too worried, but make sure that, since you're starting classes in spring semester in kind of January, it's going to be very cold. Make sure you have your coat and boots, everything ready to go in case, the first snowfall comes and it's, a couple feet tall. You're not going to be stranded and you have all the gear that you need to get to your classes. Okay, so the next question is from Joseph, and it's actually about, getting involved in leadership on campus. So he wants to know how he can use his skills to kind of promote diversity or organize activities and get involved at the U, essentially.
Okay. I'll answer this question. I've been working as an international ambassador for 2 years, and I also work as the president of the International Student Council. I also work as the president of the Enviro Club, which is the environmental club here. It is under my department, and I've so far I've also volunteered in a lot of activities on campus as well. So how you get involved at the U is if you work as an ambassador or want to get involved in the specific leadership roles, starting from February most of the time. The international ambassador applications open, and the leadership positions for the International Student Council opens. And then I'm also part of the Student Alumni Board, and they also open their leadership applications around February or March. So if you want a leadership role, I would highly recommend you to keep your eyes out on those applications and apply to them by the deadline so you could get interviewed and get the position. But if it's not leadership role, there is, I think it is called Campus Connect. If you go in there and log in with your UID, you can see all the student organizations on our campus, and you can see their upcoming events from there as well. So Campus Connect is definitely the best place that you can get started and get information. And then most of the time, like a lot of the clubs post their upcoming events on their social media. So definitely follow the clubs that you like on social media pages so you won't miss their events.
Perfect. That is a great resource. And Danica just posted the URL to Campus Connect that's specific to the University of Utah. So please do check that website out. Aditya wants to know, will there be a recording of this session be available, and where can you find it? I wonder, Danica, would you know specifics?
Yeah, I can jump in and answer that. So yes, this is being recorded and it will be posted on our website. So you can check our website. It's just isss.utah.edu. It's also up here on the screen, this website right here, isss.utah.edu/orientation. The webinars will be posted there. So yes, it's okay if you joined a little bit late, you'll be able to see the whole thing.
Awesome. The next question is from Joseph. He asks, will we have a campus tour so that we can get to know the campus a little bit better? So I can attempt to answer this one. So I'm not sure if the International Student Scholar Services will have a campus tour once semester starts, but I know that there are other organizations on campus that provide this resource. So if you're interested in getting a campus tour, please go to it's a building called Gardner Commons. It's on campus, and you can ask for the University of Utah student ambassadors. They're the ones who give tours of campus to incoming students, to current students. So you can definitely just ask them, hey, I am interested to learn more about campus. I'm a student here. And I'm sure they can set up a time where you can meet an ambassador and they'll take you around campus. Oh, and I'll also add, I'm not sure if all the tours are in person. I know that a lot of them weren't in the fall, but the University Ambassadors will definitely have even virtual tours that you can sign up for so that you can kind of get an interactive experience of still getting to know our campus because it's quite big. So definitely check out University of Utah Ambassadors.
Yeah, and I'll just add, if you're ever on campus and you're lost and you're looking for something, just feel free to ask any of the students that are walking around. Everybody is very willing to help, and they're not gonna like laugh at you because we've all been there, and I've been lost multiple times on campus. So just feel free to like ask anybody who's walking around you and they can point you to the right direction.
Perfect. Okay, so then the next question we have is regarding what the majority makeup of our international student population at the University of Utah is. Does anyone know what the most common country students are from?
I can answer this one as well. So at the University of Utah, we have about 10% of the student population is made up of international students. And most of those students, the top 3 countries are China, India, and South Korea. But we also have a lot of students from all over the world. We actually have students represented from over 80 countries on our campus. So it's likely that you're not the only person from your country. At the University of Utah, you just might have to find them and do a little bit of digging to find someone from your country. But we do have a lot of representation from a lot of different countries, which is really fun because you get to meet a lot of different people from all over the world. So that's a really good question.
Perfect. Thank you, Danica. I think the next question might be a follow-up to the leadership question that was asked. Essentially, Joseph wants to know, Enki, you mentioned how you can apply for leadership positions or clubs and where he can find these applications, if there's a website.
So most of the time what I do is I go to get involved and then I choose particular student organizations that I want to get involved with. You can either send them an email or, as I said before, if you follow them on social media pages, they always post their applications on their social media pages. That's usually how I find my leadership applications. And then you could, I believe you can also find them on Campus Connect. So I would highly recommend you to send an email to the organization that you're interested in and let them know that you're interested in their leadership position, so they could send you a follow-up email when their applications are open.
Awesome. Thanks, Enki. And I'm just going to add another leadership opportunity that I know they're always looking for international students to join them, which is ASUU, which is the Associated Students of the University of Utah. And it's essentially our student government. And they have a lot of different boards, a lot of different teams, and you truly get to make a difference on like policies and, resources that students get to use. And so they're always looking for new international students to give them a fresh perspective. So that's something you're interested. Also check out the ASUU website, which I can throw into the chat as well. Okay. The next question is, are there any common difficulties faced during online classes as compared to in-person classes? This is a really great question.
Okay, I'll answer this question. We were just discussing it right before the orientation. So I think like studying online, taking your classes online is really convenient as you're saving up a lot of time. Like instead of commuting around campus, like you have some time to work on your homework. And then one hard thing is like if you really need to learn how to be on top of things, because when you're taking online classes and miss like several lectures or homeworks or deadlines, I find it really difficult to catch up with that class later in the semester. So just and no one will really tell you to get up and just study and start doing your homework. So you really need to be like in charge of yourself really well and just be on top of your things. And do you have anything else to add, Rachel?
No, I think that pretty much covers it. I mean, I think professors know what you're going through, and we've all been doing online classes, and so I think they have a pretty good understanding of what the challenges are for students. And so a lot of professors have been making a lot of changes to their courses to really make it work online. So I wouldn't be worried about it. I think it's still, you're still getting a really good education. It's just a little bit different.
Perfect. I think we've come to our last question. If any of you all have more questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. We have time for more. But the last question here is, What are ways in which one can find peers from the same major or kind of same courses that they have signed up for?
That's a really great question. So most of the time, um, okay, I'll talk it specifically to the COVID situation. Um, when you go to your class on the first day and get assignments, like try to find people that could help you in that class as well. So for example, this last fall semester, when everything was online, I was taking one geology class, and it is one of the hard classes that I struggled the most. So what I did is I just like ask people like, is there anyone who wants to study together? And then we just open a group chat together and just help each other out. So uh, if you're trying to find peers from the same major, most of the time, the best way is to find someone from your major classes. So, and most of the time, like, especially if you're in the same year, same major, you end up taking a lot of the courses together. So I think that is a really great way to make friends and find peers to get help from.
Yeah, I agree. I know there's one additional resource that I think certain departments also offer. So since I'm in the College of Engineering, I know that at the beginning of every semester, they have like an engineering club. So it's specifically clubs that are in the Department of Engineering, and you'll essentially be seeing students who are representatives or leaders from those clubs, giving you more information about their major, what they're studying, the leadership experience that they're having in this club. So I found that to be quite a useful way to meet other people in my major, because it was just a lot of people who were in engineering and were maybe studying specifically like mechanical engineering or biomedical engineering. So I'm sure other departments also have something similar that they will do at the start of the semester. And they'll probably inform students of that via email in your UMail. So I think all of you who have your UID should now be able to log into your UMail. Make sure you log in, because a lot of your official U News and like your department will be reaching out to you via that email. Okay. Another question that we've gotten now is regards to COVID safety, and specifically what measures is the University of Utah taking to reduce exposure to COVID for in-person classes?
I think I was just going to say, if Danica, if you want to take this one, you can, but I think that there's also going to be another webinar about this in a little bit more detail later. But as far as a few just basic things that have been going on, they're sanitizing a lot of like the high touch areas around campus. So like doorknobs and light switches and all sorts of things. They're doing a lot of sanitizing, and also the requirement for all people on campus to wear masks. And there's hand sanitizer all over campus. And they're also doing regular COVID testing for students and doing reporting and just making sure that, we're staying safe, and that if we get in contact with somebody, we're notified. But there's definitely going to be more information about that in a little bit more detail later.
Yeah, thanks, Rachel. I'll just jump in and say too, so I just put in the chat, the university has a coronavirus website that you can go to, and you can find all of the information. There's, in addition to what Rachel said with the sanitizing and the mask requirement, and many classes being moved to an online format rather than in person, there's also a specific health training that all students and staff have to complete at the beginning of the semester. So you should be receiving emails about that to your university email, your UMail. So make sure you're checking your UMail, because you'll need to complete that online training. And then also, as Rachel mentioned, I would also like to echo that we will have another webinar next week, and we will have just some guidelines and some more information about what you can expect on campus in regards to COVID precautions. And I posted that link to register for that webinar in the chat, but I'll post it again so that you guys can can join that one and learn how to stay healthy on campus.
Awesome. So I believe that is the end of our Q&A session. We don't have any more questions submitted. Again, thank you all for joining us. And like Danica mentioned and Rachel mentioned, we have 2 more webinars that the ISSS office is putting together for international students that are attending or coming to the University of Utah for spring semester. So please be sure to register for those at the link that Danica has shared with everyone. We hope to see you all at the webinars, the future webinars. And we wish you all the success and all the best of luck as you guys start your spring semester at the University of Utah. If you guys have any additional questions or need any additional guidance as you guys are going through the semester, please do not hesitate to reach out to the International Student Scholar Services office. They have plenty of advisors there that are ready to help you and guide you through your journey studying in the United States. With that, thank you everyone, and we hope you have a great rest of your day or evening, and hope to see you around campus.